Hola familia, it's Alex. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. So today, as you guys can see from the title, we are ranking the eyeshadow palettes that came into my life from the first day of summer till the last day of summer, basically. So I think it's 9 eyeshadow palettes, which is not bad. Some of you guys may be thinking like, wow, Alex, that's 9 eyeshadows in 3 months, 9 eyeshadow palettes in 3 months. That's nothing compared to what I used to bring in years ago. This is actually pretty good for me, to be honest with you. I've mentioned this in the past that during the summer is when I get the most eyeshadow palettes. It's the season that draws me into eyeshadow palettes more so than any other time in the year. Went from January to like April, really I probably bring in 1 or 2. And then during the holiday season, I always hold off because I am gift giving and I am receiving gifts. So I try not to buy too many things either. So the summertime, it's my birthday. It's a lot of things that I celebrate throughout the summer. So it's perfect for me to bring in new things. So I wanted to rank the palettes here for you guys today. I'm doing from my least favorite all the way to my number 1 pick that I have for this summer. So if you're interested, stay tuned. But first, if you're new to my channel, welcome to the familia. My name is Alejandra. I'm an eyeshadow enthusiast with a dash of Project Pan. That is something that interests you. Subscribe, join us. And now without further ado, let's get on with the ranking. For the most part, all of these eyeshadow palettes, I'm looking at them, have had some sort of review, a quick review, an in-depth its own video kind of review for each of these eyeshadow palettes. If I remember, I will link it down below. If I do forget, I do have a playlist of all of my eyeshadow palette reviews. You can just check on that playlist and everything should be there as well. I try to categorize things so to make it easier for you guys to find things if you are trying to find something on my channel. I have 9 eyeshadow palettes to share with you guys today, so we're going to start off with my number 9. My number 9 pick would go to the Colored Rain Juicy Boost palette. You guys have heard me talk about this palette multiple times. I have actually showed this, I think, in at least 2 to 3 videos. It has its own review, and here's what the palette looks like, you guys. If you haven't seen it, I have a full review on this, so I'm not going to get into in depth. I love the color story of this. I love the whole concept. I am well aware this is a pressed pigment type of eyeshadow palette. As an eyeshadow enthusiast, I own hundreds, with an S at the end, you guys, of palettes, many of them being pressed eyeshadow. So I'm well aware of what it's supposed to feel like, or at least a good quality one. And this one, unfortunately, was not it. I have done the whole entire spiel on this, so I'm not going to get too much into it. This is a palette that I wished I would have waited for a review from someone else, because this was not cheap, and I paid for it. So I'm going to use it. It's just I'm very bummed at the quality of this compared to all the rest of my Colored Rain shadow palettes that I do own. This one is by far my least favorite out of any of them that I've owned. Not to say that it is the worst palette in my whole entire collection. I want to make that very clear. I can still use this. I can still make it work. But compared to its own brand, its own individual shadows within this brand, this one by far is the worst. So this one goes for number 9. Number 8 goes to my Flower Beauty Jungle Lights palette. The reason why this one is ranked lower is because of the fact that this palette holds me back on using it on its own. I do have to pair it with a matte, some sort of eyeshadow. I can't just do this on its own. And I do have to wet these. These are not that great dry. I do have to either use my finger, wet my finger and stroke it on my eye, or use a brush and wet the brush and stroke it on my eye. If I wear these on their own, it just drags and leaves patches everywhere. You can also use a glitter glue or a tacky base, and these will stick perfectly fine. But for me, I love it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love the colors. I love the finish of these on my eyes. It's just I can't grab this on its own. I have to use it with something else. And that's the only downside to this one. But I do love these. Don't get me wrong. I still enjoy it. I will still use it. It's just not, I can't use it on its own. Number 7 goes to a palette that is very similar, but I still really do love it. This is my Nomad Studio 54 one. This is more of a topper or as a lid shade on here. These are beautiful, but again, I have to pull other products in to go with this palette. I can't just use it on its own. The colors of these are stunning and they're shifting, which I do appreciate. This one is very unique within Nomad's brand because these are different shadows. They're not your typical shadows. They're not your shimmery metallic. They have a little bit more of an oomph to them, and that's why I love them. This is why these are higher than the Flower Beauty one, but it's lower in my ranking just because I can't, it's not a standalone palette, so I have to find something else to use it with. But on the eye, these are beautiful. Love this one. If you're looking for that specific palette where you just want to place a little bit of extra oomph to your eyeshadow look, or you want to add some sort of dimension to your eye look, this is something good because it's small, compact, just enough what you need, not too many where you're overwhelmed or redundant shadows. It's perfect. Number 6 went to the e.l.f. J Kissa to the Rescue palette. This one I truly enjoyed. This is my only large e.l.f. palette that I do own. I did a full review. I did a palette bingo review with this palette. I do like it. The mattes work perfectly fine. And I should make this very clear for those that may not know, I do not use a sticky base ever on my eyelids. I don't use concealer ever on my eyelids. That's something I've never done and I never will do because I have very oily lids. I only use a sticky base if I'm using a loose glitter. That is it. I just use a regular eyeshadow primer with all of my eyeshadow looks. So if you may hear somebody saying that some sort of shadows sticking to their eyelids, most of the time it's because they're using a tacky base or a concealer, and that's what those things do. I use a standard eyeshadow primer for my eyes. So for this one, I thought the mattes were actually decent. They weren't the best, but they're decent. They were workable. I was able to pat them on my eyes, blend them out really nicely. They are pigmented, so I didn't have any issues with them. I have a different way of doing eyeshadow maybe than others, but I didn't find an issue with these at all. This row down here at the bottom was absolutely beautiful. This color was by far my favorite in it. It had a little bit of a dimension to it, and I love that you can have trios in here. This is a really pretty, inexpensive rainbow palette with that bottom row, and you have depth in this eyeshadow palette, which I love. Sometimes with eyeshadow, rainbow eyeshadow palettes, you don't have depth, so you can't bring that look into a deeper, sultrier way, and this one you can do that, and I do love that. So I really enjoyed this one. This one opened up my eyes to try more e.l.f. shadow palettes. I was looking at the Retro Paradise one, but I held back because I'm trying to be more reasonable with my eyeshadow palette purchases, but that one is one that I'm kind of regretting not getting. I don't know, I might eventually get it, but I do like that one because this one made me go there. Let's move on to my 5th pick, and for my 5th pick would be the Sample Beauty Prodigy palette, the Jewel Toned palette. You've seen this in quite a few videos recently, and I actually wanted to wear this one today and I forgot. So this one, it's beautiful, you guys. I really do like it. It's up there as far as the other ones go because I have more variety. I have different textures within it. I can take this all different ways. This is one of those great palettes that transition from summer into fall. It's perfect. It's exactly what you need. I did find 1 or 2 duds in this palette, but it's not a big deal because the 1 or 2 duds are colors that I really don't go for, but the rest of them were beautiful. Love the texture shadows. These 2 are my favorite toppers in here. If you see this in person, you can see that this has a green shift and this one has like a pinky rosy shift. On camera, I don't know if that'll be if it catches it or not, but in person you could definitely see that. Love the color variation. I love the ratio of mattes that you get, the depth of matte that you get versus the ones that are for your actual lid, the shimmery ones, the metallic-y ones, the satin ones. It's a really, really good palette. This is the only palette I own from this brand, so I cannot attest this brand if all of them were like this, but I would like to try one more from this brand just to see how it is. But this color story is beautiful. Number 4 goes to the Tiny Marvels, the Sydney Grace Tiny Marvels with Mel Thompson collaboration. This one is beautiful. Okay, you guys, I am one of those people that are constantly beating the dead horse. You guys know I love the Sydney Grace shadow formula. Everyone that has purchased it because of me or because they've heard from somebody else has said the same. I think there's only one person actually commented saying that they don't like the Sydney Grace formula. Other than that, every single person loves their brand. I love the quality. So this is exactly like their single shadows, and that's what I love about certain brands, that they do not cheap out when they change their format of how they sell their singles. They put it in a palette form and it's still the same way. I do like this palette. I love the quality of it. The reason why this is lower in my top 3 per se, yeah, this is the 4th one and it's not in my top 3, is because of the color story. I do love the quality. I did not purchase this because of the color story. I purchased it because I didn't own any other Sydney Grace palette, and I figured this would be the best one and to support Mel Thompson. So I figured to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I do love it. I do enjoy it. When I wear it, I do enjoy it, but it's not a color story that really grabs me. But with that said, I know that if I can't go too loud with my makeup, this is a palette I would love to grab for, because I can still get that thirst for color without it being so bright and bold in your face. So this is great, you guys. I know they just recently restocked this, and if you got it, you're gonna love it because the quality is amazing. All right, we're on to our top 3 of summer palettes that I got this year. Number 3 goes to Give Me Glow Extra Spicy Palette. This is a brand that I just fallen head over heels for. I love this brand. I love the quality of these. Oh my goodness gracious. And how much product you get in these palettes. So this one is number 3, and this is not, it's in my top 3 because of the quality of it. I love the color story. If they only tweaked it a little bit more, it would have bumped up to number 2, but if they would have had a green, I was okay with it. Look, it actually matches my whole entire thing. This is another palette where it's more condensed, more of a curated palette that goes from summer to fall. This is beautiful. And if you're a project panner, and you follow my Pan Those Eyeshadows, you're well aware that I actually rolled this one into my next round of Pan Those Eyeshadows. I don't know if I will hit pan on this, you guys. Each of these is about 3 grams of product, so that's 3 grams of eyeshadow. That might not hit pan on, but we're gonna give it a shot anyway. So this is my number 3. I love these. I love these colors. This is something I'd wear all year round. And if you got a tan and you're deep dark skin, oh my lord, I am envious. No joke. I am envious because this will look stunning on you. Number 2 of palette picks is going to go to my Natasha Denona Bronze palette. And I know some of you guys are like, why, Alex? I would have picked something else. This one to me, it just, oh my gosh. Okay. I know, and I've said this for every time I showcase this palette. To some it's redundant, to some it's boring, to some you just don't like warm tones. I get it. I am always there because I know. But this palette is just something I was looking for this year. This is what I was looking for when it came to a bronze palette, and it's even more special because the quality of this is so good. It's so good, you guys. I love this. I love this. Every time I wear this palette, I don't get disappointed. I don't feel like my look just looks terrible. It just goes. It's just so pretty. I can make it a subtle look or I can make it a bright and bold look. It's one of my favorite, definitely one of my favorite neutral kind of palettes. One that doesn't have too much color, even though this is a colorful palette compared to other neutrals that you've seen out in the market. This is my number 2, more so because of the quality and because it's a personal thing for me. It's something I was looking for quite a while, and I can pop these out and make my own if I want to. So that's awesome too. You guys ready for my number 1? All right, I'll give you guys a hint. It's a summer palette. My number 1 goes to JD Glow Summer Vibes palette, you guys. Why did I wait so long? Okay, you guys, when I first heard of Give Me Glow Cosmetics, it was in 2018, and I remember we had just purchased this house, and I remember driving back and forth, and in one of those instances, I was very, very close to purchasing this palette. Back then, this palette was in a Z palette kind of thing. The shadows were able to be popped out, and it was about $55-ish, and I felt like it was too expensive for an indie brand. So I held off, didn't bother with it. It kept selling out, and I just said, out of sight, out of mind. I will even admit I put it in one of my top hit picks and skips, which used to be my makeup releases that I used to do. And I did showcase this palette saying that I wasn't going to purchase it. And here I am 2 years later. I purchased it when they brought it back in this form, and it was $20 cheaper. And I said, all right, Alex, this is it. I have fallen in love with this palette so hard. This is my true summer palette. I could just picture myself in a nice summer dress with a nice summer hat, minimal makeup using this. I can also picture myself in a very subtle outfit and being bright and bold with my eyeshadows and using this. I can take this so many ways. It's very versatile. It's not just a one trick pony type of palette. And the quality of this eyeshadow palette is so good. Any of the JD Glow palettes, I can say, because I think at this point I own all but two. I think it's two eyeshadow palettes that they have, the grungy one and something else. I own almost all their eyeshadow palettes and they're all the same exact formula. They have not changed it. And if you like the one, you're gonna like them all because they're all the same quality, including the singles. I've heard the singles are just as good. I don't own the singles because I own so many eyeshadow palettes. It'll be redundant for me to buy singles knowing that I probably already have it in one of these palettes. But this is such a good brand. This is definitely my number one, you guys. I had no hesitation. I had no double thinking, no double thoughts on it, wondering if maybe I picked the right thing. This is definitely my number one pick of palettes that came into my life this whole entire summer that I love. All right, you guys, that is it. Those are my 9 eyeshadow palettes that came into my life this summer. I have ranked them 1 through 9. If I do get many palettes for the fall winter time, I'll do the same thing. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will link these down in the description box so long as they're still available and I can still find them. Let me know what your number one summer palette that came into your life this year, or if you shopped your stash and which one you could not put down. I'd love to hear that. I'll put more videos right over here for your enjoyment. Until then, bye guys.